The air always felt heavier at night in Harbor's Edge. That summer, I was 16, and the only place left to kill time was the last thing anyone would call fun. Luna's Fun Park. It sat at the edge of a wild field, 3 miles from the sea, and even farther from anyone who'd care what happened there after dark. My cousin Samira waited on her porch, arms wrapped tight around herself. She always said she liked the park better when it was empty. I pulled up, headlights sweeping over cracked pavement, and she hopped in, slamming the door a little too hard. We drove in silence, the only sound the rattle of my old sedan and the distant crash of waves. Luna's was a patchwork of broken games, faded paint, and a go-kart track that looked like it had never seen a safety inspection. It was nearly 11. The lot was almost empty. Inside, the ticket booth was manned by a guy who looked like he'd been there since the place opened. Eyes glazed, smile slow. We bought 3 tickets for the carts. Samira nudged me, smirking, and I tried to match her energy, but something about the place felt off tonight. The arcade lights flickered, casting long shadows over the empty carpet. A couple of teenage boys hunched over a broken air hockey table, their laughter echoing off the walls. Near the batting cages, an older man sat alone, staring at nothing. I didn't think much of him at first. Samira and I made our way to the go-kart track. The air was thick with the smell of old gasoline and burnt rubber. The carts themselves looked more like hazards than rides, paint peeling and tires bald. We buckled in, engines sputtering to life. I focused on the track, knuckles white on the wheel. Samira sped ahead, her laughter trailing behind. The world shrank to the sound of engines and the wind biting at my face. After the first lap, I noticed the man from the batting cages had moved. He stood by the fence, arms crossed, eyes locked on us. His face was unreadable in the half-light, but his smile looked wrong. Too wide, too practiced. I tried to ignore him, but every time I rounded the far curve, my eyes darted to the fence. He hadn't moved. Just watched, head tilted, like he was waiting for something. We finished our second run. The man was now right by the exit gate, hands gripping the metal. My stomach twisted. We only had 1 lap left, and I was praying he'd leave before we finished, but he didn't move. Our last lap felt endless. I kept glancing at Samira, wondering if she felt it too, the air thick and wrong, the way his eyes followed us without blinking. We pulled into the lanes, engines sputtering out. The man was right there, just feet away. His eyes glinted in the low light, and his lips curled into a smile that made my skin crawl. I unbuckled, hands shaking, and stepped out. Samira was already at my side, voice bright and a little too loud as she joked about beating me. I barely heard her. The man stepped in front of the gate as I tried to open it. His voice was rough, the words slow and deliberate. He asked what 2 girls were doing out here alone so late. I glanced at Samira, but she just stared at him, unimpressed. He pressed again, asking if our parents knew where we were. I lied, said they were waiting for us, and tried to move past him. He grabbed my shoulder, grip firm, insisting he'd seen us arrive alone. Samira stepped between us, her voice sharp now. She told him we were headed to the arcade and that my boyfriend was meeting us. I could tell she was bluffing. but she didn't hesitate. His face shifted, smile dropping. He glared down at us, his eyes colder now. I felt myself shrink back, wishing I could disappear. Without another word, Samira pulled me toward the arcade. The boys were gone, and the girl who usually worked there was nowhere to be seen. The silence inside was thick, broken only by the hum of the claw machine. We ducked behind the claw machine, trying to catch our breath. I whispered that I'd left my phone in the car. Samira cursed quietly. Hers was charging at home. The fear settled in, heavy and cold. Samira whispered that we'd have to make a run for it. I argued, terrified the man would be waiting in the parking lot. She suggested getting the Go-Kart attendant to walk us out, but I shook my head. He'd vanished into the ticket shack, and I didn't trust him to help. Samira stood, pulling me up with her. She said we had no choice. My legs felt like water, but I nodded, swallowing the panic rising in my throat. We crept out of the arcade, scanning every shadow. The park was silent, empty. Even the neon lights seemed dimmer, flickering like they were about to give out. Samira dragged me toward the lot. My heart hammered as I fumbled for my keys. We were 20 feet from my car when I froze. I'd never locked it. What if... Samira edged closer to the car, squinting into the darkness. I tried to hold her back, but she slipped away, whispering that she'd just take a quick look. My mind raced with images of the man crouched in the back seat, waiting. She leaned in, but it was too dark to see inside. I stood frozen, every muscle tensed, waiting for something, anything to move. Then, from the woods behind the lot, there was the sound of feet slamming against the pavement. Fast, heavy. I spun around. The man was running at us, full speed, eyes wild. I screamed, fumbling with my keys. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped them. Samira was already on the passenger side, yelling for me to hurry. I managed to unlock the door and threw myself inside just as he reached us. He slammed his fists against the window, shouting words I couldn't make out. I barely managed to lock the doors. Samira was screaming at me to go. My vision blurred with tears as I jammed the key into the ignition, hand slipping on the wheel. The man yanked at the handle, but it held. I slammed the car into reverse. He chased us as I pulled out, still pounding on the glass, face twisted with rage. I floored it, tires squealing as we tore out of the lot, the park shrinking in the rearview mirror. We drove way too fast, the road a blur. Samira kept grabbing the wheel to steady us as I sobbed, barely able to see. The streetlights flickered past, cold and indifferent. We made it home, but neither of us said a word. We sat in the car, breathing hard, the engine ticking as it cooled. The silence was almost worse than the chase. We never told our parents. I think we were afraid they'd blame us, or worse, that they wouldn't believe us. For weeks, I barely slept, replaying the night over and over. We never went back to Luna's fun park. Even now, sometimes I drive past on my way to the beach, and the lights are still flickering, the fence still standing. But I don't look too long. Some places are better left behind. Even now, I wonder if he's still out there, waiting by that fence for someone else who won't see him until it's too late.